Welcome to the Def Cam. Defense journalist Alan warns, after speaking directly with Air Chief Marshal Zaheer Ahmed Babur Sidhu, confirmed that from May 5th to May 10th, the Pakistan Air Force successfully brought down the entire kill chain of the Indian Air Force. This kill chain disruption meant that Indian strike formations lost access to real-time targeting, satellite-based command integration, radar coverage, and secure navigational data. Indian Air Force operations became fragmented and blind across multiple air corridors during this critical period. IAF jamming platforms, supported by a network of ground-based electronic warfare units and airborne nodes, denied Indian aircraft the ability to complete any radar-guided or satellite-cued strike mission in contested airspace. Indian satellite downlinks were rendered inoperative by targeted jamming pulses, which interrupted data relay between reconnaissance assets and frontline aircraft. This severed the link between surveillance imagery, mission control, and weapon guidance. Indian airborne early warning and control systems, operating from standoff ranges, could not maintain continuous data sharing due to radar saturation and digital noise injection by Pakistani systems operating in staggered frequency hopping. Multiple Indian fighter jets, including Rafale and Su-30 MKI aircraft, lost precise geolocation, with GPS denial cutting out standoff missile calibration and in-flight route corrections. Pakistani J-10C fighters, operating with uninterrupted data link support from command centers and early warning platforms, maneuvered freely with precise battlespace awareness. Mr. Warren's statement reinforces prior Pakistani claims that 3 Rafale fighters were downed in a single high-intensity engagement on May 7th, during a spike in aerial combat near the Bimber and Ramban sectors. The 4th Rafale was later reported as shot down near the Sialkot sector, consistent with both radar logs and open-source thermal signature data. Local eyewitnesses captured audio and visual evidence of wreckage falling in a scattered pattern near the riverine terrain of eastern Punjab. The female pilot narrative emerged from this crash, with multiple sources, including first response unit audio, referring to search operations for a female ejection seat survivor. Please listen.
इंडियन पायलट जो कैप्चर हुई है उसको टीवी पे लाने लगे हैं 100% कंफर्म जफरवाल से पकड़ा है उसको सियालकोट से जिसके ऊपर तस्वीर शेयर की थी
Indian authorities neither confirmed nor denied this incident, and media outlets avoided the topic entirely in official channels. Pakistan's suppression of India's kill chain disrupted more than weapons guidance. It disoriented formation-level coordination and made joint platform missions between Rafales and support assets such as Netra AWNC and ground-based stations impossible. With encrypted communications degraded and data link relays disabled, Indian fighters were isolated from their command nodes and resorted to individual survival tactics instead of coordinated strike packages. Rafale pilots, deprived of radar picture from AWACS and forced to disengage targeting pods due to electromagnetic interference, attempted defensive maneuvers while exposed to PL-15E missile lock from PAF J-10CS that retained total target clarity. Electronic logs maintained by Pakistan Air Force's Situational Awareness Grid confirmed multiple successful radar locks on Rafales without any countermeasure deployment by the Indian side. This indicates either depleted countermeasure inventories or complete disruption of threat warning receivers on board the Indian fighters. The Rafale Spectra self-protection suite failed to detect or respond to incoming threats, likely due to sustained broadband jamming that overloaded its internal processing. PAF radar fusion systems operating across land and airborne platforms presented a complete and continuous picture to interceptor aircraft, allowing seamless queuing without latency or misidentification. India's media, under pressure to contain political damage, responded with narratives that shifted daily. Initial denials of airspace violations were replaced by vague references to aborted missions, then followed by claims that Pakistani fighters had struck decoys or failed to inflict any damage. These accounts were not supported by evidence. Satellite imagery released by independent sources showed heat signatures consistent with crash fires in multiple Indian-controlled sectors. Hospitals near the line of engagement reported pilot evacuations, and Indian airbases observed nighttime operations atypical for peacetime conditions. None of these indicators align with India's public position. The consistency of Pakistan's account, backed by telemetry data, radar lock records, and field footage, stands in contrast to India's shifting media statements. Mr. Warren's confirmation, made after speaking with the highest military authority in Pakistan's Air Force, further affirms that PAF exercised technological and doctrinal superiority during the Sindh air conflict. India's failure to defend its kill chain demonstrates vulnerabilities in its reliance on externally integrated systems that proved fragile under sustained jamming and electronic degradation. Rafales, often advertised as invulnerable due to their avionics suite and sensor fusion capabilities, became easy targets in an environment where electromagnetic spectrum control was denied. The fourth Rafale, brought down near Sialkot, is consistent with the pattern of engagements shifting further east as Indian aircraft tried to test flanking corridors to avoid contested zones in central Kashmir. Pakistani coverage extended well into these areas, aided by overlapping air defense bubbles and mobile radar platforms. The momentary shift in vector allowed an engagement outside the expected axis, but Pakistani interceptors adapted rapidly due to continuous tracking handed over between radar stations and air combat patrols. The silence from the Indian side regarding the fourth Rafale, particularly involving the female pilot, is explained by political considerations. Acknowledging that a female combat pilot was shot down and possibly captured would trigger domestic backlash and international media pressure. Pakistan's deliberate silence on the matter and absence of footage or confirmation suggests that the pilot's status is being managed under diplomatic protocols. Indian media's refusal to even mention the loss, despite eyewitness reports and debris confirmation, highlights the extent of narrative control exercised to shield the Air Force from public scrutiny. Pakistan, having intercepted and dismantled Indian air operations across a critical 5-day window, established air dominance without escalation into broader conflict. This operation showcased not only kinetic capabilities but also non-kinetic force projection through electromagnetic superiority, data link preservation, and unified command synchronization. The decisive degradation of India's kill chain, the confirmed downing of 4 Rafale jets, and the inability of Indian forces to counter PAF electronic warfare has reshaped the regional air balance in Pakistan's favor. Mr. Warren's remarks serve as a credible validation of Pakistan's claims, showing that PAF's dominance was not perceived from internal briefings alone but recognized by seasoned foreign analysts. The continued denial and narrative shifts by Indian media only deepened the credibility crisis faced by its armed forces, eroding public trust and leaving India diplomatically isolated in its claims. With each day that passes, the lack of transparency reinforces that Pakistan's version of events aligns with battlefield truth, while India's information space continues to dissolve under its own contradictions. Viewers, share your thoughts and opinions on this analysis in the comments below. Thanks, and stay tuned for the upcoming videos.